All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to get dirty with information? Because this episode is absolutely insane. I'm talking overload. You might want to get your Advil because I don't know if you guys can really handle this. Okay, so let's get started with an alien coup d'etat. So what the hell is this crazy MF talking about? I'm talking about extraterrestrials taking over this goddamn planet. Excuse my language, but taking over this planet in a sense that they don't want us to know they're doing so. Essentially a coup d'etat, a silent coup d'etat. So why am I looking at this ugly creature over here, this weird looking ass creature? Well, let's take a look at its stomach. And I'm sure it's a symbol that you guys will have seen before. Multiple symbols you have seen before. We got the all-seeing eye, we got the pyramid, and we got the inverted pyramid with the pyramid, which creates the Jewish Star of David. So symbols aside, this Illuminati type creature, why would this be considered an Illuminati type creature? What does this have anything to do with the Illuminati? Well, if you study some ancient history, you will see some ancient deities that were well recognized. For example, in the Babylonian times, you had a god named Baal, which was represented as a bull. And I'm sure you guys have seen this image. Let me go ahead and show it to you. I believe Alex Jones, the guy who was originally kicked out from social media, I think he was the one who actually got this image. Let's take a look real quick. Aha! We got this sacrificial owl over here. So why am I showing you this weird ass owl? Well, in Babylonian times, they had a god named Ishtar. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Ishtar used to look like. And Ishtar was actually comparable to many other goddesses. Like, for example, if you go back in Adam and Eve stories, which I believe there are like 4 different versions of it, there is an interesting character named Lilith. She was somebody who preceded Eve, was not really human, was perhaps a talking serpent who essentially refused to bow down to humanity for God's asking, so to speak. But let me show you what Lilith, or not Lilith, but in this case we're talking about Ishtar, which we're talking about from Babylonian times. So she is this interesting horned goddess that oftentimes stands in front of a lion. On another depiction of her is being shown standing top of a lion with a snake underneath her and the owl. And here we have it, the owl. The owl is an interesting creature because the owl actually signifies stealth. They have this unique ability to fly, extremely silent, and their perception at night is one of the greatest in the animal kingdom. So going beyond that, what is one of the mottos that they have at the Bohemian Grove? Let's look at the Bohemian Grove emblem. And here it says, spiders come... No, wait, let me read that. Weaving spiders come not here. Weaving spiders come not here. Now, what could that be? Is this some kind of child poem? Is this a joke? Why spiders? Now, I actually ended up discovering this by accident, but it doesn't surprise me that they worship other goddesses like Shiva. The Shiva is a god of death in Hindu religion, and the reason why she's so important is, and the reason why I would even bring up Hindu religion is because I'm sure you've seen her being worshipped at CERN, for example, where scientists had to actually apologize for doing weird rituals around a Hindu goddess. Now, why would I be bringing up a Hindu goddess talking about Bohemian Grove when we're talking about this emblem saying weaving spiders come not here? Well, according to ancient Hindu religion, the spider was the mother of all goddesses. She was the nurturer of life. She was the one who spun the web to which we all live in. Have you ever wondered what the Luciferian doctrine is about? The Luciferian doctrine is do thou what you will. Do whatever the freaking thing you want to do. Isn't that antithetically opposite to the weaving spider, to the idea that somebody might have created a spider nest to which we're all bounded by these harmonic laws of the creator, yet a specific entity, perhaps a fallen angel, has decided that it does not want to partake in this game. It does not want to partake in the weaving of the spider, so to speak. So here we have the owl. Here we have Ashtar, the Babylonian goddess. Now, I've been telling you guys for a long time that this goddess, if you go back to Sumerian times, they changed the damn laws. And I'm actually talking about the 10 Commandments. Because the 10 Commandments used to say that thou shalt not make an idol of anything that's in the skies above, in the earth beneath, and in the oceans. But in Sumerian time, they didn't have this. They only had this in the Babylonian. So what did Sumerian version of this goddess, which was called Inanna, what did she look like? And some of these are symbolic representations, but the one I'm looking for is the ones that were actually some of the oldest sculptures that were discovered in the city of Ur. And it looked something more like this. Okay? So for all those weird reptilian theory, David Icke type guys who people think are absolute shit crazy, well, maybe we should study some of our ancient history and take a look at what people were actually worshiping, how they represented the laws. For example, the 10 Commandments that said you're not allowed to represent this creature in a realistic way, so then they started representing it like this. So just to break it down further, okay? So just to clarify, this is Sumerian times, this is Babylonian times. Here we have the Bohemian Grove, and the reason why I was showing you that weird ass god is, look, you got the all-seeing eye, right? So, you know, what do you think these weird parties are all about? The eyes wide shut stuff, right? Let's take a look at these weird parties. Hopefully there'll be no nudity in these images. Good. Okay, let's take a look here. So what do you think this ceremony is all about? What do you think these masks are about? I mean, do you think that these individuals who end up wearing red robes, and here's what interests me the most. There is a head guy. He's the only one wearing the red robe. Now let's look at the Bohemian Grove again. The Bohemian Grove, we got the individuals, a few of them wearing red hood. Now check this out. In some depictions of this weird conspiracy, and I know you guys are gonna start going crazy here, but this creature, I swear to God, is often depicted with a red robe. So we got this red robe creature, we got weird rituals that the elites apparently do, and if you didn't know, Stanley Kubrick wanted 15 extra minutes in this film. He didn't get it, ended up dying before the film even made it to the theaters. Now, was it, he was an old man, was it natural or not? I'm just saying that's just what happened. So we got the red robe going on here, we got the red robe going on here, we got the red robe going on here. I just showed you what the Sumerian goddess that it seems like they're worshiping looked like, and it looked like a snake type creature. Now if you go back to the Dogon tribe, right, and this is really important because you guys can't miss this, check this out. They call these people frog-faced people, okay? And the reason why it's important to show the Dogon people is because oftentimes what they use as part of the symbolism, look at this. Look at this creature. I mean, yeah, that looks very terrestrial. Looks like something I see on Earth all the time. And oftentimes these creatures are said to be amphibian. They're thought to be reptilian. I've actually even wondered if they could be two separate species. But definitely there seems to be at least one species that has come from a different star system according to their legends, and is often depicted with, I'm trying not to type the name to see if it just shows up. It's something like this. It's kind of like a strange goat-like mask that they have. Here's another version of it. And the reason why I want to show you this goat's mask. And I read a book called The Science of Dogon by Laird Scranton, and he talks a lot about the goat symbology that they use. And they talk about the horns of the goat representing the horns of their gods. Look at these horns right here. Look at this one that looks like a little frog face thing with horns. Or I don't know, maybe you can say it looks like a rabbit. Look at this one. So why is this important? Okay, well, let's look at what the Rothschild family had. We're talking about the elites here. We're talking about the kings and queens of America. Let's just put Rothschild party. Aha! Here we got the goat's head. Baphomet, call it Baal, whatever you want to call it. The point is, this is a sacrificial god that has been worshipped since the Babylonian times. And look, this creature right here that we were just showing you, with the all-seeing eye, if you read the Revelations, they talk about exactly why some of these animals were used for the symbolisms. For example, the Bible talks that the creature has the face of a lion and the teeth of a lion because it physically looks like it has a teeth. They talk about how it's often represented as a goat because of the goat's horns. Now, I don't know if you guys realized, but goat, lion, snake, eagle or owl, some kind of avian type creature. Remember Quetzalcoatl from the Mayan Empire? That's feather serpent. All these things are also symbols that represent the dragon. The dragon, the most prolific symbolism in human history, to which to this day nobody seems to understand the true origins of. What culture invented the dragon? Maybe it wasn't a culture, maybe it was a species. Maybe it was something that was at the pinnacle of the pyramid. And that is why I call this an alien coup d'etat. Let's look at Baal. Look at Baal carrying a baby. This is real. These are biblical stories. God. Was it really God? Was this really God, or was it a different type of God that asked us to sacrifice our kid? Because when I see this right here, this tribute to this God, let me show you another one. Moloch was also represented as Baal, B-A'-A-L, and to me, when I see this, right, when I see the sacrifice that's happening, there's one thing that it reminds me of. Why would humans constantly be having these sacrificial, vile type things where you go to these weird occult rituals and you drink blood and you drink people's urines? Why are humans subjected to these vile, horrible things? Why do frats embarrass people before they initiate them? Because they have to break them. They have to get to their inner psyche to make them do everything that they ever had morals against, so that they no longer have morals but only have allegiance. Look at that human, that Akkadian human, just giving away that baby to this bull. This bull, by the way, also signifies the Taurus star system. So these symbols sometimes are used multifariously. They're used in different levels, almost to signify the most appropriate thing that can have multiple meanings. You know, these are not dumb people. These are people who are going to try to be efficient, trying to evoke meaning. So, why is sacrifice? Well, what do you think gangs do? What does a gang make you do before you join the gang? It makes you kill somebody. Like if you're some really violent gangs that, you know, have tight allegiance, that you got to do something horrible to get in. And I'm looking at this, I'm saying, this is the freaking alien gang. These things are sky gods. This is a Taurus star system thing. If you look back at the Dogon tribe that we just talked about, okay? If you look at the Dogon tribe that we were just discussing, what's so unique about this tribe and why I'm so interested is because in 1920, French anthropologists studied this tribe and they realized something very interesting. They had a very peculiar belief, this tribe, Not were they just as old as the Sumerians, not were they just as old as the old Egyptians. We're talking about 3500 BC from West Africa. These people, and they were like some of the first people to have, quote unquote, a secret society. And you know why it was called a secret society? Because only 8 individuals from the tribes were, quote unquote, allowed to talk to the extraterrestrials. And I say extraterrestrials because they give an exact star system from where these creatures come from. That is the Sirius star system. The same star system that the Egyptian goddess Isis, that to me has always evoked the same qualities as Inanna, or we're talking about Lilith, also from Adam and Eve, the talking serpents. If you look at Isis, she does look like a serpentine creature. This is also connected with the Titans, who were banished to the underworld by Zeus, some godlike creature that came from the skies with a lightning bulb. What I'm trying to say is, regardless of the culture, these creatures are one and the same. They are the same entity being signified in multifarious different ways. And the specific culture, the Dogon people, actually said that not that they just come from a Sirius star system, they actually said that this star system had 3 stars in it. As if a West African culture is supposed to even know that stars can have trinary systems. But even more interesting, they had a specific name for this star. They called it Potolo. Now, I will reference this information from a book called The Science of Dogon by an author named Laird Scranton. He specifically talks about how the word Po actually signifies seed and an atom. And yes, they did have a term for atom. But here's the thing. It was until 1994 that NASA scientists actually discovered that there was a 3rd star system. And this was only discovered because they had to mathematically analyze the solar perturbation and realize that not was there just a 3rd star system that was not very visible because they could not see with telescopes at the time, based on the estimations of its gravity because of the solar perturbations. They assumed it had to be a white dwarf, which, if you don't know, is a highly, highly dense star. Potolo, a seed, an atom. How did these people know? And why the hell are elites worshiping in weird occult symbols, in weird occult parties, things that represent symbols that these ancient cultures, whether you're talking about Babylonians or West Africans, how could all of this be correlated? I think by now you ladies and gentlemen have probably understood the premise of this. The top of the pyramid, when we talk about Epstein, when we talk about people managing, the thing about kings and queens is that kings and queens were always able to do whatever they wanted. And what the elites wanted is to become the kings and queens of modern times, where there were no laws, where the laws were different, but it still acts like a pyramid. And who owns the pyramid? Who is wearing the red dress? Well, I'm wondering if it could be extraterrestrially manipulated. I'm wondering if the pinnacle is an influence of heaven, a fallen angel, so to speak. Maybe this story is real. And I know some of you might think I'm absolutely crazy, but just as a last thought, consider the idea that people who do, for example, voodoo magic, well, the whole purpose of voodoo magic is to use rhythms, to use beats, to essentially get your consciousness to a level where you can, quote unquote, communicate with the gods. Okay? To communicate with the gods. Now, what's happening with magic mushrooms? Magic mushrooms, and let's type Silicon Valley. Microdosing, a new wave investment. Now, microdosing is the idea of taking mushrooms in small doses so that your perception of reality is slightly, how can we say, augmented? So when I got voodoo people doing weird rituals to get their consciousness level so they can communicate with the gods, and I know that people who take hallucinogens constantly talk about being able to communicate with quote unquote aliens, how the hell do I know that these Silicon Valley CEOs who are microdosing on hallucinogens are not being negatively affected by higher minds who are trying to manipulate the system in a way that would not be too different than this? Do you get what I'm saying when I talk about an alien coup d'etat? Is planet Earth being endangered by alien species that are trying to manipulate higher minds of elite circles? And I say higher minds because people are trying to augment their minds with psychedelics and all kinds of other rituals. Could this be a process of trying to communicate with their gods who may not be of this planet and perhaps may not have this planet's, or at least the wellness of humanity, as a number one priority of theirs? Sounds crazy, but ladies and gentlemen, that is the dirty truth of the evening. Thank you for joining me. This is Felipe Osorio, signing out.